of you might know by now, I also studied in Bosch. And when I told my one mate that I was going to be in Bosch today, he got all excited and had lunch plans ready. And then I told him, no, it's only going to be digitally, on the screen for an hour. So the title of my message today is My Pathfinding in Business. So I want to share with you how I started, some of the successes I've tasted, some of the lessons I've learned. And I trust that there will be something in this presentation that you can glean from. So feel free to make notes if you think that there is a nugget for you in the presentation. All right. So to start with the very beginning, I grew up in Welkom in the Free State. Now you might ask, can anything good come from Welkom? Well, I'm here today to prove that. My dad was an electrician working on the mines, who later became an explosive engineer. But I was quite scared to be around him because something might blow up. My mom didn't even finish school, but later she became quite a successful businesswoman herself in the HR industry. So growing up, I had virtually no ambition. I was quite scared of the future. I didn't know what was going to happen with me. I didn't even know I was going to afford a house or get a wife. You see, I suffered from small town mentality. I didn't even know the neighboring countries around South Africa. So that is to say that it's never too late to start blooming. It's not where you're from, it's where you are going. Okay, so my life really started at university. I had such an incredible experience at Bosch. Initially, I was going to go overseas and do the work overseas gap year type of program. But then when I finished matric, my math results were surprisingly good. So my stepfather suggested that I study engineering of all courses. So I enrolled at Bosch University. I was in the Heimat men's residence. And then during initiation, I quickly saw that university is going to be fun. I mean, there's a lot of cool things to do. So then, in secret, without my parents' consent, I went to go change my course from engineering to BCom Tourism and Recreation. Naughty, because I thought, in studying engineering, I'm going to be too busy studying. I need to do something that's simpler so I have more time for fun. Well, later it turned out that it was quite the apt choice for me. You'll see more about that in a second. So my life completely changed at a first-year camp hosted by one of the local churches. So I was going to this camp just for the girls. I was quite the Casanova. But then there I met a couple of guys who were much different to my demeanor at that stage. They had such joy and passion and playfulness and a genuine interest in wanting the best for me. So they told me about Jesus, the source of this new life that they had. And I remember during a worship session, I saw a picture in my imagination of God's huge hand reaching out to mine. And in that moment, I committed my life to him. And then everything changed. So initially, I was flunking my subjects. And then I felt really convicted to pursue excellence in representing the Lord. So then it turned out that there was something between these years where with hard work and by His grace, I was actually top student in more than one of my subjects. And I finished my degree with cum laude. A noteworthy experience I want to tell you about was in my first year, and Clarice actually alluded to this. I organized a rock show for two popular bands at the time, Jak de Priester and Disselblom. So this was exposure I had to Afrikaans shows in high school, and I wanted to do something to bring people together and to raise money for a car. So the lesson here is to do what your hand finds to do and to learn through experience, trying new things and not just book knowledge. So interestingly enough, the following academic year, one of the subjects I had as part of my degree was event management. And I aced it because of the practical experience that I had. So organizing the event also gave me some recognition. So I was one of the first second-year students to be elected to student council. And I embraced this opportunity with everything I had to learn as much as possible about leadership and organizational skills. And this is also where I met your lecturer, Clarice. So we organized a couple of big projects, including bringing an international band that was quite popular at the time to the amphitheater. And this photo shows the team of 24 students I had the privilege to lead. We also launched 2 publications that year, a single edition magazine and a daily devotional journal. In my personal life, I read a book called I Kissed Dating Goodbye, which is quite an interesting title, and it is just about that. And this really transformed my approach from being the Casanova to wanting to wait for the right woman to marry as led by the Lord. So I was actually quite single throughout my years at university, which accelerated my character growth and development as a leader. And my time for ladies was replaced with a passion for adventure sports and outreaches, which I don't regret for a moment. So after finishing my studies, I considered doing summer camps in the USA, but eventually I decided to join an outreach called 80 Days Around the World. So I had the privilege to see about 30 countries over a period of 4 years. We worked in orphanages and served missionaries from Japan to Hawaii, the long way around, because they're actually quite close to each other if you go the other way. Travel has a unique way of broadening your horizons and preparing you for life and business by exposing you to diverse cultures, perspectives, and experiences. So this exposure makes ordinary life seem insufficient, as it cultivates a greater appreciation for diversity, adaptability, and global thinking, which causes you to dream great big dreams, and that's necessary. So I would recommend low-budget traveling, not just doing hotel hopping, but really immersing yourself in the local culture, if that's a possibility for you. So it was during one of these trips that I met my lovely wife. On Christmas Day in 2008, we got lost in the Malaya Mountains and really experienced a miracle in the way we got out. I won't have time to go into the details, but I can tell you the story if you're interested. So this experience forged a beautiful friendship between me and her, and about a year later, we got married. And our wedding day also had the theme of travel, since that is so deeply ingrained within our DNA. Then the first couple of years, we stayed in the coastal town Jeffreys Bay, and I worked for a local church who facilitated a gap year program for students from around the world. This was quite exciting. We had one year we had 120 students from I think about 14 different nationalities, and we taught them about leadership, music, surfing, and media. So I was in the marketing department, updating the website and doing road trips to various schools all over South Africa, and that was quite an adventure. Then in 2015, my wife and I was actually pregnant together, in inverted commas. So she carried our eldest daughter in her womb, and I had an idea for a business brewing in my heart. So we gave birth almost the same time, since she started the business about 3 weeks after my daughter was born. When I started the business about 3 weeks after my daughter was born. So this is a picture of me in the garage with my business plan in January of that year. Now, there is a significance in a name, and I would urge you to carefully consider the name that you choose for your business. So I gave my business the name Pathfinding Media, and here's the backstory. So the great King Solomon said, where there is no vision, the people perish. Now, management experts tells us that we must set both long-term and short-term goals. Politicians publish election manifestos. Military personnel lay down campaign strategy. But whether you call it a goal, a manifesto, or a strategy, it is a vision you're talking about. So what is vision? Vision is an act of seeing, of course, an imaginative perception of things, combining insight and foresight. But more particularly, in the sense which I'm using the word, it's compounded of a deep dissatisfaction of what is and a clear grasp of what could be. And it begins with an indignation with the status quo, and it grows an earnest quest for an alternative. Now, the opposite of this is apathy, where you basically accept the unacceptable. Now, entrepreneurship begins with a decision to refuse to do so. In business, you should be looking for problems, and then your business becomes the solution to that problem. Before Robert McNamara retired in 1981 as the president of the World Bank after 13 years, he addressed its annual meeting for the last time, and in his speech, he quoted George Bernard Shaw, saying, "You see things as they are and ask why, but I dream things that never were and ask why not." So nothing much happens without a vision. And for something great to happen, there must be a greater vision. Behind every great achievement is a visionary. David Bleakley writes about such visionaries, saying, these are people with a hunch alternative, those who believe that it is possible to build a better world. He calls them pathfinders, who are lovers of our planet, who feel a responsibility for God's creation and who wish to give true meaning to the lives of all people. Now, indeed, he was confident, as I am, that such pathfinders represent a groundswell of change in our society and societies elsewhere. So in the context of this, my media business, Pathfinding Media, was to make it affordable and adventurous for small businesses to have a beautiful online presence, a communication solution that can reach their target audience. So that's the story about the name. Now, let's get a little bit more practical on starting a business. So when you set up a new business, it's essential that you learn how to reduce tax liability legally, of course, and efficiently. So the structure of your business and its annual turnover determines the taxes that you pay. So here are 4 key structures that you could consider. The first one is called turnover tax. And this is for businesses with an annual turnover below 1 million rand. So the tax rate here is between 0 and 3%. That's nice and low. So it's good for you to bootstrap your business. So for example, the first 335,000 rand is completely tax-free. And then up to 1 million rand, you get taxed at a maximum of 3%. The second structure you can set up is a small business corporation, or a SBC. This is suitable for businesses with a turnover of less than 20 million rand and with one shareholder. So this is the way that I set up my business. The tax rates here are between 0 and 27%. And this structure also offers significant deductions, and therefore it is highly efficient. And then you get your PTY, or your Proprietary Limited Company. Here, there's a fixed rate of 27%. And this is suitable for larger and more complex businesses. And of course, you can claim assessed losses, reducing future tax liabilities. And then the last option, which I won't really recommend, is the freelance thing. And I see this a lot with friends and family members just starting their business, where actually they're only self-employed, but then they use individual taxation. So this is often used as solopreneurs, but it's not necessarily the best structure, because you pay higher tax, between 18 and 45% tax. And it's also much more difficult to claim business expenses. So as you can see, each structure offers different benefits and challenges. So it's important to get the right accountant or business consultant to advise you on which one aligns best with your type of business and, of course, your vision. Yeah, I hope this makes sense. It's quite dark out there in the class, so I can't really see if you guys are following along. But yeah, let me plow along. I want to give you a word on the importance of branding. So imagine for a moment, I was going to get on an airplane to come to you guys today in person. I arrive at the airport and I see the pilot going into the plane, and he's wearing sunglasses and some flip-flops, beach clothes. You won't have much credibility with me, Willie, because it is actually his pilot uniform that gives him the appearance that he knows what he's doing, right? So just like that, corporate identity should never be an optional extra. Not if you want to be taken seriously by your customers as a credible business. Carleton University found that it takes just 50 milliseconds for someone to form an opinion about a company once they land on their website. Stanford University found that 75% of website users admit to making a judgment about whether a company is credible or not based on their logo and website design. And you can probably attest to, scrolling to some websites and thinking, is this from the 1980s, and not deeming it to be very credible. Now, before commissioning a Canva design for your logo, consider investing good money, at least for a professional logo. So just some interesting things about the trends and around logo design. This is a trend that has been happening. It's called debranding. So this is where major companies simplify their logos. And notable examples are Burger King, Warner Brothers, Nissan, Lay's, Toyota, and even the Munchable Mr. Julius Pringle had a make under to simplify the logo. Now, on South African front, we have Woolworths, Pick n Pay, and F&B, who simplified their logo or went through a debranding. Now, the key factors driving debranding is mobile-first design. People are a lot more on their mobile phones accessing different brands, which means that there's a necessity to shrink the brand identity to a small digital screen, and therefore avoid overuse of digital effects, leading to cluttered designs like drop shadows or 3D effects and the likes. Now, there's also the concept of maturity. Brands evolve from playful to professional. And here you can see Google's evolution in their brand development. Because simplified logos open new possibilities for brand diversity. So keep this in mind when you commission a logo design. Now, when I got started, I had a very wide range of services I offered. I offered logo design and website design and signage and even printing. And we even started an online directory service. I started this with a guy in Jeffreys Bay. Now, the lesson I learned here was to quickly assess whether something was going to be successful based on the initial uptake in the market, and then to cut my losses early. And that's my advice to you guys. So with Koga Link as a local business directory, we quickly realized that there are too many other players online, and the market who we were penetrating in Jeffreys Bay was a poor city, and it's a small town, so people weren't really going online to find businesses. They were just driving around, and they weren't adopting digital marketing at the time. So we just pulled the plug quickly on that. And then one of my mates, for whom I designed some brochures, it's a company called Untouched Adventures. He gave me some really good advice. And yeah, if throughout the presentation, if there's little snippets of text, you're welcome to write that down or just to remember that, because those are some of the key lessons that I learned. So he said I should pivot my product range like he did. So instead of having too wide range of products and services and spreading yourself thin, and then you just become average in your service delivery, rather become an expert in one area. So in his case, he was offering snorkeling and scuba diving and hiking and kayaking and lilo, a bunch of different services, and realized that people are getting lost in what he actually does. So he narrowed it down to just kayak and lilo. And even if you go to their website, that's the first thing that you'll see in the imagery and in the language. And therefore, they became known as the guys who does kayak and lilo. And then you can still do the other services, but it's not the primary messaging. Now, this seems counterintuitive because you might think that more services opens up more opportunity to make money, but people don't have the mind space to take everything in that you do. So rather pivot and focus on a niche market. All right. So I decided to go with web design in my case, rather than all the other services, since this was the cheapest way to bootstrap my business. With a digital business, there are many advantages, and one of them are that there isn't as many overheads that you need. So you don't need venture capital, and I didn't want to take out a loan and start on the back foot. So I enrolled myself for a 10-week course in web design and digital marketing, and worked really hard to upskill myself. And I want to encourage you to have discipline to upskill yourself. This is crucial for becoming an expert in your field. Don't think that once you've got a degree, you're done learning. Not in this fast-moving world. As highlighted in the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, he said that the best leaders and the most successful individuals don't just settle for competence. That's just knowing how to do the job. They strive to do the best or be the best. And this journey from good to great involves a commitment to continuous learning and improvement. So by committing to a disciplined approach to learning and skill development, you can transcend mere competence to achieve extraordinary success. So that's my encouragement to you guys. So there's academic learning, and then there's on-the-job learning. So my first real client was a posh private school in Port Elizabeth. I was handed the contract by a friend who was both looking out for me to help me out in starting my business, but he was also a bit lazy to do the job himself. So I initially started building on what he started with, but I quickly realized I needed to lay the foundation myself. So version 2 was a lot better. And then finally, I went all out for an immersive user experience. Now, the client loved it and they loved me until they realized that it was only me and there wasn't depth enough in my business. So they realized if they're going to run into an issue over a weekend or, when I'm overseas, snorkeling somewhere, they're going to have a problem. So they canceled my contract. Now, you see, my business advisor, aka my father-in-law, he told me that I had to work on my business and not in my business. But I enjoyed designing so much, so I didn't want to give it up. That is until I heard the McDonald's analogy by a guy called Michael Gerber, a well-known business consultant and the author of The E-Myth Revisited. So he asked this question, and I'm asking you guys this question. By a show of hands, who of you can build a better burger than McDonald's? Okay, cool. There's a bunch of you. That's great. So now the next question is this. Who of you can build a multi-million-dollar business from that burger? Yeah, not any of us, eh? So yeah, thanks, Clarice. You can switch off the lights again if the presentation displays better. So here are the essential components of a successful business, and McDonald's exemplifies this. It is efficient systems. So you need to establish streamlined, repeatable processes for consistency and scalability. And we both know that McDonald's does that really well. The second aspect of a successful business is effective processes. So you need to implement best practices in operations, supply chain, and customer service. And then the final element is qualified people. You need to recruit and train employees who can effectively carry out the process and embody the company values. So I realized I needed to multiply myself, and I need to multiply my time with people, not building the business into myself. So since then, I've been trying to work myself out of a job. So 4 years into the business, I took the plunge and I hired my first employee. So as soon as I did that, I freed myself up to learn from the best. So my father-in-law is quite a prolific businessman, and he had a renovation project lined up as a civil engineer. And I felt the urge to learn about both project management and property investments. So I offered to work for him free of charge. So half day I would work at the project, and then the other half I'd work on my business. Now, he later was quite generous, but I entered the project without any expectation of being paid. The learning experience was the payoff I was looking for, and it did pay. So the 1,200 square meter building was completely ripped apart and everything redone from the roof to electrical and plumbing, all within 5 months. And this was a 10 million rand project in total, but it delivered a return on investment of 50%. So that was quite an incredible experience. And this is the aftermath or the end result. So I learned so much during this time. It was really an experience that shaped the rest of my career. I highly recommend you to seize opportunities of job shadowing or even doing an internship in the business area that you want to pursue, to learn from the best, have mentors. In the multitude of counselors, purposes are established. These experiences provide invaluable insights, practical skills, and a deeper understanding of your chosen field. It's setting a strong foundation for your future career. So what happened next was we started growing exponentially within Pathfind Media on the eve of COVID-19. Now, here I learned that something terrible that happens can create amazing opportunities. And this is a part of the skill set of the entrepreneur, and that is to find those opportunities. So a survey found that responses to COVID-19 have speeded up the adoption of digital technologies by several years. And many of these changes could be here for the long haul. So we did many e-commerce websites during this time and rebranding of businesses who now had time to rethink their marketing strategies during those 2 years in 2020 and 2021. Now, this also meant that I had to hire more people, which I did. And we were now an official business, not just a self-employment entity, because there is a difference between those two. So Jim Collins makes a statement that you need to get the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus. And he gives two disciplines. Key discipline one is, when in doubt, don't hire. A company should limit its growth based on the ability to find the right people. And then second discipline is that when you need to make a people change, act quickly, put the right people in the right positions. Now, in my business, I had to get two people off the bus. The first one was someone I hired to do social media as a service, which we considered for a time period to bring into the business as a service. But it turned out that it actually distracted us from our core mission of doing websites. So I had to cut that loss quickly. And then the other person was somebody I had to micromanage. And that's never a nice experience. It takes up a lot of resource and emotional energy. And it wasn't good for me as manager and then for the employee as well. And I'm grateful to say that at the moment, we truly have a high performance team. So in hiring more people, it also means that you need more work to pay salaries and grow the business. So one of the most effective ways to market your business is through authentic referral relationships. One such organization that facilitates these types of relationships is BNI. Networking at a local BNI is a crucial element in growing your business, as it provides opportunities for collaboration, knowledge exchange, and potential partnerships. So there's a phrase that goes, your network is your net worth, which encapsulates the idea that the value of your professional connections can significantly impact your business success. So networking for me has been instrumental in my entrepreneurship journey, providing access to a supportive community of like-minded professionals, referrals, and business opportunities that have contributed to my growth and success. And then in 2022, we were approached by Study University, who wanted to send us their top students from the School of Media and Design to do their 200 hours of work integrated learning. Now, they were so impressed by what we exposed the students to, they asked me to become an elite member of their program stakeholders committee to help sculpt their curriculum on offer to not just stand the test of time, but also to set the benchmark in industry relevance. So this led to us winning the Media Innovator Award for 3 years by both Corporate Vision magazine and Global Brands magazine. Their team based the judgment on criteria such as innovative approaches in technology, business growth, online reputation, customer feedback, and then, of course, overall business performance. Now, all of this so far sounds like it's going well, right? But I can assure you, it's not all sunshine and roses. It's not always easy. So there were actually times in my business where I considered alternative employment. I sent out my CV a couple of times, even went for interviews. because there are cash flow challenges, or there are difficult clients. So the difficult clients might be because of legitimate negligence on our side, because we aren't perfect. We still people and we make mistakes. Or it can be because of unrealistic expectations from the clients, or people just having a bad day or a bad temperament. So one such an example of an unrealistic expectation was a lady who had me build a one-page website for her little Airbnb house in Jeffreys Bay. And then she was raging mad when she didn't appear on top of Google when she typed in accommodation in Jeffreys Bay, above all the other guest houses and hotels in the area. So you learn to deal with those as you mature in wisdom. And you also learn that you shouldn't be so desperate for business that you just take on work from anyone. So in our business at the moment, we have a set criteria of the type of clients we're looking for. Customers that aligns with our values, and where there's a compatibility relationally as well to go the long haul together. We also have what we call a no prick policy. So I once had to rebuke a client for shouting at one of my staff members, and I made him apologize. So yeah, don't let anybody talk down on you. Sometimes you got to have a thick skin, and sometimes you just have to stand your ground. We've got a saying that the client isn't always right. Because the guy who said the client is always right, he was a client. So yeah, I can also just at this point be vulnerable to say that your personal life can also affect your business. So despite growing rapidly during COVID-19, I actually lost my father because of this illness. And a year later, my wife was also very sick, and she had multiple surgeries. So for personal challenges that you go through, I would recommend that you have a strong team that works in your business, and to keep the boat afloat, and then of course a personal community. In our context, we had an amazing church family that looked after us, and even supplied us with food for weeks on end, just because it was a challenge to be the mom and dad for a while in our house. Okay, so one expense that you should never skimp on is having a proper contract that clients must sign before doing business with you. A well-drafted contract helps clarify your terms of service and sets clear expectations, and protects you legally. So just this year, I had to enforce my contract to make a client pay who was neglecting their responsibility. So having a solid contract in place, I ensured that I had the legal backing to resolve the situation effectively and maintain the integrity of my business. So by investing in a comprehensive contract, you safeguard your interests and establish a professional standard from the outset. One thing entrepreneurs should always do, like I said earlier, is to look out for opportunities to grow your asset column. So an asset is something that can generate income. So of course there is risk involved, but without risk, there is no reward. Sometimes you gain and sometimes you learn. So people who avoid failure often avoid success. Safe investments are for novice investors. The more sophisticated one becomes, the more opportunities come your way. So one of the asset classes I invest in through my other business, the Dasco Investment, is industrial property, rather than in residential, which is a more common phenomenon you'll hear people speak about. But I want to go for industrial because it's easier to manage tenants and enforce payment obligations. So consider property as a sideline investment, no matter what your core business is. There are numerous resources out there, such as the classic book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, that can guide you on this journey. By diversifying your investments and continually seeking opportunities, you significantly enhance your financial growth and stability. Another valuable asset class is e-commerce websites. For instance, Pathfinding Media invested in the business Onside Rugby, which offers a patented product designed to help rugby players, especially young ones, to improve their passing game. This is called the Bullet Trap, and you can go and check it out on the website. This is an investment that's been instrumental in providing a platform to reach a wider audience and boost sales of this product. Now, depending on your product or service, you can grow your business globally. The world is your oyster when it comes to business opportunities. And you can network with South Africans even all over the world to expand your reach. So in 2017, I traveled to the UK to establish business connections that side, and also registered Pathfind UK to better serve our clients overseas. So this strategic move not only expanded our market presence, but it allowed us to leverage local insights and networks to further our business growth. Okay, so besides making money, you need a greater cause to invest in. At Pathfinding Media, we believe in giving back to the community and supporting meaningful initiatives. In addition to serving numerous nonprofit organizations, such as World Foster Day, Osprey Vision, Petra Institute, and Badisa, I'm personally involved in running a camp for 100 high school boys each year. So this camp aims to mentor them into manhood with the support of 50 other mature men who dedicate their time and wisdom to guide these young individuals. So my recommendation to you would also be to set a cap on the income that you want to receive. I remember when I just started my business, a mentor told me that he sees me earning a certain amount per month. Now, I kept that number as a goal. And as soon as I reach that goal, everything else will be reinvested in the next generation and in ministry. Because if you don't have something like that, like a cap on that, money can become a bottomless pit, and your pursuit is, never ending. So have a cap on what you want to earn in terms of your finances. So when it comes to systems for business operations, it's crucial to start on the right platform by comparing price, features, and support that the platform offers. So we've been experimenting with various accounting systems, for example, including Sage Business Online and Xero, both being great platforms. However, we've settled on a software company called Zoho, and they offer something called Zoho One, which offers 55 separate apps integrated into one platform, making it the most cost-effective solution for a new business. So in 2022, we also became a Zoho partner, which means that in addition to using the software ourselves, we can also resell it to our clients as tailor-made solutions. And this partnership extends our team's expertise and allows us to offer world-class support. So that's my presentation, Clarice. I've got 4 small pieces of advice I want to end off. But before I do that, maybe let's just open up for a time of questions and answers. Consider joining the 5 a.m. club. Now, I know this sounds daunting, but research involving a questionnaire asked 1,000 millionaires, and it revealed they asked 1,000 millionaires, what do they do to be successful? And the answers was the same. There were 3 common denominators. The first one is that they all rose early in the morning. They all did regular exercise, and they all meditated through either prayer or envisioning. So while popular culture often glorifies staying up late, try doing the 5 a.m. club for a month, and you can see a noticeable difference in your body, mind, and spirit. Okay, so that's a piece of advice, or maybe let me put it as a challenge out there. Try that for a month. Okay. The second one is to make a habit of reading biographies. So biographies offer profound insights into the lives and strategies of successful individuals, providing valuable lessons that can be applied to your own business journey. They offer a glimpse into the challenges, the failures, and the triumphs of those who navigated similar paths before you. So for business insights, consider reading Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. He dives into the mind of Apple's visionary co-founder. Shoe Dog is another one by Phil Knight. He offers insight into the trials and tribulations of building the Nike brand from the ground up. And then Elon Musk, Tesla. So there's a book about him by Ashley Vance, and provides a fascinating look at the ambition that he has and his tumultuous life. And he's one of the most innovative entrepreneurs of today. The third one is this, where Jesus asked this profound question. He said, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his own soul? So this question just emphasizes the futility of wealth. Even if you become very rich, don't let go of your moral compass or your spiritual integrity. Practically just means maintaining a healthy work-life balance to ensure time for exercise and rest, and also for your family and friends. And then the last one is to be quick to forgive. So in business, you're going to be offended. Or even if you not start your business, you just work for somebody. This is true for everyone. There's not one of us sitting here or me standing here that's not going to be offended. People will disappoint you, and some will even be ruthless with you or steal from you. But you know what offense does? Offense keeps animals inside. So don't take offense. Escape through the narrow gate. And you do that by being quick to forgive. So there's a study that was published in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine, and they found that individuals who hold grudges report 20% increase in levels of stress and anxiety, 30% are more likely to experience symptoms of depression, 22% higher mortality rate over a 5-year period, and 25% higher risk of heart disease. So it can actually kill you to not forgive. And the opposite of that is people who actually make a habit of forgiving people. There was a study published by Psychology and Health and they found that they have 30% stronger immune systems, 15 to 20% reduction in chronic pain, and 25% better recovery from emotional distress compared to those who do not forgive easily. Yeah, so those are just 4 pieces of advice I wanted to leave you with to consider on your journey of either employment or starting a business. Yeah, thank you so much for your time today and attention. Yeah, I can just close off by humbly asking that you would please look out for us on Facebook or Instagram and like our page or follow us. I'd really appreciate that if you could do that for me today. It just helps us with our online presence. So thank you so much.